Understanding a test report. What is a test report? Who can issue test reports? What information does a test report contain? This video will help walk you through these and other questions. But first, let's try to understand the terms: product, brand, factory, material supplier, lab, and test report. Let us take an example of a shirt. The shirt is sold by a brand. This is the logo that you usually see on a shirt. The shirt is sold by the brand in a shop or online. The shirt is made by a factory. To make the shirt, the factory needs multiple materials. These come from material suppliers. As we saw in previous videos, Affirm brands have decided to restrict or ban certain substances from their components or products. But how do brands know that the products from the suppliers or the materials from the factory meet the Affirm RSL requirements? One way to check is to test for the restricted substances in a laboratory. Suppliers or factories can send materials or products to the lab for testing. Or brands can test finished products themselves. A lab analyzes incoming materials for the required substances and issues a report. Depending on the laboratory performing the test, reports may have slightly different formats. Let us look at some of the information that may be present in a test report. This video will help explain information you could find on a report, pass-fail criteria, how to understand concentrations, and test reports with multiple materials. The first page of a report usually contains traceability information such as the report number, testing lab, test report date, the date the sample was received, and the dates it was tested. You can also find information on the client who submitted the material for testing. Remember, it can either be the brand or the supplier that sends a sample to a lab. There should also be a description of the sample, including a material name, sometimes a material number, color, and type of material. There will also be a list of the tests performed and the final results. These tests form a test package which is specific to the type of material being tested. Now let us look at what other information you can find in a report. Remember to check that the test report date and report number are the same throughout the report. In this test report, bisphenols, formaldehyde, and phthalates were tested. Let us look at the results column. Most results are listed in milligrams per kilogram, but you may also see ppm or parts per million. This is the concentration of the substance in the material. So if we had to divide the material into 1,000,000 pieces, how many pieces would be bisphenol A, bisphenol S, etc.? So for example, this material has a concentration of 1000 ppm of DBP. So, 1000 parts would be DBP. And 5000 parts would be DNOP. 400 parts would be DNHP. And 400 parts would be BBP. Since 1000 ppm and 5000 ppm are greater than the allowed limit of 500 ppm, this material has failed for DNOP and DBP. For BBP and DNHP, the concentration is less than the allowed limit, so the result for these chemicals is a pass. Note that for some chemicals you may see an ND. This stands for not detected. In this report, 3 chemicals were tested with 3 different reporting limits. A reporting limit is the minimum concentration at which the lab can get reliable data. So when the concentration is less than the reporting limit, the lab enters ND into the result. Sometimes in addition to an individual limit, there is also a total limit for the group of chemicals. So, for example, if all the results in this group were 200 ppm, the individual chemicals would pass, but the group would fail. In this report, we can also see that chemicals have multiple limits based on the final intended use of the product. So, since this product is intended for adults, the result is a pass. But it would be a fail if it was intended for babies or infants. Finally, on this page, we can see some chemicals that do not have a pass-fail limit. This is often collected when a brand wants information on a chemical. Since we have one fail on this report, the overall result for this material would be a fail. This test report was for a single material. But sometimes the results of multiple materials can be included in a single test report. Here we have 4 items tested in a single report. We have multiple metals tested here and different kinds of limits. We also have the test method listed. This is important if we want to compare different materials. We need to make sure they were all tested using identical test methods. Here we can see that all the materials passed except for the green button. This kind of testing can help when there are multiple materials of the same type, in this case, metal items. But sometimes, a customer can send in a finished product and ask the lab to test the multiple parts. In this case, each material might have a different test package. A test package is a list of tests to be conducted on the material. For brands following the Affirm RSL, this should match the materials listed in the Affirm test matrix. This is what a test report for these shoes could look like. These are the 4 parts of the shoe. And these are the tests conducted on each part. Note that not all parts were tested for all chemistries. Tests are performed depending on what was indicated in the Affirm test matrix. If a test was not needed for that material type, for example solvents in natural fibers, then you may see an NA in the test report for not applicable. Some labs can also use an X. This test report also indicates a pass result with the letter P. Fails are indicated with the letter F. And we also see the letter I. This stands for inconclusive. This could mean that more investigation is needed based on the lab's results and the client's specifications. These results sometimes occur when multiple materials are analyzed together to save testing costs. The lab may analyze the 3 colors together as a composite material and get a result that indicates one of the samples may be above the fail limit. If this is the case, then the individual materials might have to be tested separately to investigate the inconclusive result. So hopefully, this video has helped you better understand information you could find on a report, pass-fail criteria, how to understand concentrations, and test reports with multiple materials. Remember that the Affirm Group's RSL is free to access and use and is available in 7 languages.